Brother's email said, family cottage gone for 1/8 while you're overseas. Until I checked the property records and my stomach dropped. I'm Marin, 34 years old, and I'm staring at my laptop screen in a cramped Melbourne hotel room at 3 a.m., reading the message my brother Declan sent with the subject line, finally done it. The body of the email is brief, almost cheerful. Hey sis, hope the Australia assignment is going well. Quick update. Blair and I accepted an offer on the cottage. 8 million. Can you believe it? Close in 30 days. We'll send you your third when it's done. Don't worry about any paperwork. I've got power of attorney. Talk soon. Attached is a photo of him and his girlfriend Blair holding champagne glasses in front of our family's lake cottage, the one our parents built by hand over 3 summers before I was born. My hands are completely steady as I open a new browser tab. I don't cry. I don't call him. Instead, I log into the county property records database using credentials I've maintained since Dad died 2 years ago, when I became co-executor of the estate alongside Declan. The page loads slowly, the Australian internet struggling with the American server. When the records finally populate, I read the same line 4 times to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. Property transfer. Quitclaim deed filed January 15, 2024. Grantor, Marin Whitfield. Grantee, Declan Whitfield. Consideration, $10 and other valuable consideration. Someone forged my signature and transferred my ownership to Declan 3 months ago, while I was on assignment in Sydney. The cottage is no longer co-owned. According to these records, it's entirely his to sell. The entire 1/8 million will go to him, not split 3 ways as his email suggested. I should explain something about my relationship with Declan. We're 4 years apart, me older, and we were close growing up in northern Michigan. Our parents, Graham and Mom, raised us to value family above everything else. The cottage on Lake Huron wasn't just property. It was where we scattered Mom's ashes after cancer took her when I was 22, where Dad taught us to fish, to sail, to maintain the dock, and winterize the pipes. When Dad died of a stroke 2 years ago, he left the cottage to both of us jointly, along with a small insurance policy that we split evenly. The will was clear. The cottage could only be sold if we both agreed, and any proceeds had to be divided equally. I've been paying half the property taxes and maintenance costs from overseas for 2 years. I trusted Declan to handle the physical upkeep since he lives only 90 minutes away in Detroit. That trust, I'm now realizing, was catastrophically misplaced. I click through more documents, my forensic accountant training kicking in automatically. I've spent 8 years investigating corporate fraud for an international consulting firm, and I've learned to spot patterns others miss. The property tax records show something interesting. For the past 18 months, the tax bills have been paid from an account I don't recognize. I pull up my own bank records. I've been sending Declan my half of the tax money like clockwork, $300, $200 every January. He told me he'd consolidated the payments to make it easier. But if he's not using my money for taxes, where is it going? I download every available document and begin building a timeline, the way I would for a client. The forgery is sophisticated. Whoever notarized that quitclaim deed used a real notary license number from Michigan. I verify it against the state database. It belongs to a Blair Cunningham, notary public licensed in Wayne County since 2019. Blair, Declan's girlfriend of 2 years, is a notary. The pieces are assembling into a picture that makes my chest tight with something that's not quite rage yet, more like cold calculation. They didn't just decide to sell the cottage and cut me out. They planned this, prepared for it, created false legal documents. This isn't a betrayal made in a moment of weakness or financial desperation. This is premeditated theft. I open Declan's email again and read it with fresh eyes. The casual tone, the false reassurance about sending me my third, the mention of power of attorney he doesn't actually have. It's all designed to keep me complacent for 30 days. If I'm busy with work in Australia, if I trust him, if I don't check the public records, he'll close on the sale and disappear. With $8 million before I even realize I've been robbed. The property listing is still active online. I find it easily. Stunning Lake Huron cottage, 2-bed, 2-bath, private beach, completely renovated. Wires, $850, $Zallers. The photos show upgrades I don't recognize. New kitchen, refinished floors, a deck extension. These weren't done with my knowledge or my half of the maintenance money. Declan has been investing in improvements to increase the sale price, using funds I can't account for, preparing to pocket the entire return. My phone buzzes with a text from my boss. Status update on the Melbourne audit. I've been in Australia for 6 months on what was supposed to be a 3-month assignment that kept extending. The timing couldn't have been more convenient for Declan. I text back, family emergency. Need to return to US immediately. Will brief you by tomorrow. I start searching for flights, running the numbers in my head. The earliest I can get back to Michigan is roughly 40 hours from now, considering layovers and the international dateline. The closing is scheduled for 30 days out, according to the listing details. I have time, but not much. I call the one person I trust implicitly, Reed, my college roommate who became a real estate attorney in Chicago. It's 1 p.m. his time, middle of his workday. He answers on the second ring. Marin, Aren't you supposed to be chasing koalas or something? His voice is warm, familiar. Exactly what I need right now. I lay out the situation in precise detail. The forged deed, the imminent sale, the fake power of attorney claim, Blair's notary license. Reed is silent for a long moment. When he speaks, his tone has shifted to pure professional focus. This is fraud on multiple levels. Forging a deed, notarizing false documents, potentially wire fraud when he tries to transfer the sale proceeds. But here's the problem, Marin. If the title company doesn't catch the forgery before closing, and if the new buyers are innocent parties, untangling this could take years of litigation. The cottage could be genuinely gone before you prove anything. His words land like stones in my stomach. You need to stop the sale before it happens. I can file an emergency injunction, but you'll need to be in Michigan to sign documents and appear in court. How fast can you get there? Wheels up in 12 hours if I can get a seat, I reply, already pulling up airline websites. Reed, I need something else. I need to know why. Declan makes decent money as a project manager. Why would he risk felony fraud charges over the cottage? There's rustling on his end. The sound of papers moving. People don't commit fraud for money they already have. They commit it for money they desperately need. I'd bet anything your brother is in financial trouble. Serious trouble. The kind where $8 million looks like the only way out. After we hang up, I do what I do best. I investigate. My firm has access to background check services, credit monitoring databases, court records. I shouldn't use them for personal matters, but I tell myself this is fraud investigation, which is technically what I'm trained for. What I find makes me physically nauseous. Declan has been hiding debts that span 3 credit cards, 2 personal loans, and a home equity line that's maxed out. Total, nearly $180,000. The most recent entries show payments to something called Great Lakes Gaming Center, a casino. My brother, who Dad trusted to handle his estate, who I trusted with our shared inheritance, has a gambling problem severe enough to put him in a financial hole that deep. The gambling explains the upgraded cottage. He wasn't using maintenance money or his own savings. He was using debt, betting he could sell the property for enough to pay everything off and still walk away with cash. When I wouldn't agree to sell because of the sentimental value, he decided to forge my signature and take the whole amount. The cruelty of it is breathtaking. He's not just stealing my money. He's stealing the last physical connection I have to our parents, the place where their memories are literally embedded in every board Dad planed and every window Mom chose. I book a flight leaving in 10 hours. Melbourne to Los Angeles to Detroit. 23 hours of travel time. I pack mechanically, my mind already in Michigan, already planning. I email my boss a vague explanation about a family legal emergency, promising to work remotely. I request all my accumulated vacation time, 3 weeks of it. I'm going to need every day. As I'm zipping my suitcase, another text comes through, this time from Declan. Hey, realtor says buyer might want to close early, maybe in 2-3 weeks instead of 30 days. Just FYI. More money in your pocket faster. The emoji makes me want to throw my phone across the room. He's accelerating the timeline, probably sensing that I'm far enough away and distracted enough not to interfere. I respond simply, sounds great. Happy for you. Let him think I'm oblivious. Let him think I trust the lie about getting my third. Let him feel safe right up until the moment I destroy this entire scheme. I spend the flight researching Michigan fraud law, taking notes in a leather journal. The quitclaim deed forgery is a felony punishable by up to 14 years. Using a false notarization is a separate felony. If Blair knowingly notarized a document with a forged signature, she's looking at losing her license and potential criminal charges. If Declan can't prove I actually authorized the transfer, the burden of proof falls on him to demonstrate the signature is genuine, which it isn't. When I land in LAX for my layover, there's a voicemail from an unknown Michigan number. I listen to it in the terminal, coffee in hand, watching planes take off into the California dusk. Ms. Whitfield, this is Jennifer Torres from Great Lakes Title Company. We're handling the closing on your Lake Huron property, and we need you to sign some final documents. Your brother mentioned you're overseas, but these require wet signatures. Please call me back at your earliest convenience. My heart rate doesn't spike. I don't panic. Instead, I smile. They need my actual signature. The forgery on the quitclaim deed might have transferred the property on paper, but the title company's insurance requirements mean they need to verify I'm a real person who actually agrees to this sale. Declan's plan has a fatal flaw. I don't call Jennifer Torres back. Not yet. Instead, I call Reed again. They need my signature to close. What does that mean for our strategy? I can hear him grinning through the phone. It means we have leverage. Don't sign anything. In fact, don't respond to them at all. Let them wonder. Meanwhile, I'll prepare an affidavit for you to sign the moment you land, stating you never authorized the quitclaim deed transfer and never gave Declan power of attorney. We'll file it with the county recorder's office and send copies to the title company and the buyer's attorney. That should freeze everything. Will Declan know I'm coming? I ask. Not immediately. We can file the paperwork before you contact him. Let him find out from the title company when they tell him the deal is dead. Reed pauses. Marin, are you prepared for how ugly this might get? He's your brother. Once you file fraud charges, There's no going back. You're talking about potentially sending him to prison. I watch a family reunion happening at the gate across from mine, people embracing and crying happy tears. Reed, he stole our parents' legacy and forged my signature to do it. He made his choice when he decided I was worth less than his gambling debts. I'm just making sure he faces the consequences. The second flight is longer, and I spend it doing something that surprises me. I cry. Not for Declan, but for the brother I thought I had. The one who called me after Dad's funeral and said we'd take care of each other. The one who promised we'd never sell the cottage, because it was the last place all four of us were happy together. That person either never existed or died somewhere along the path that led to forged documents and false smiles in an email. The grief is real, but it doesn't soften my resolve. If anything, it sharpens it. He doesn't get to destroy what our parents built and face no consequences. I land in Detroit at 11 p.m. local time, exhausted and wired simultaneously. Reed has sent the affidavit to my email. 3 pages of legal language that essentially state I never signed the quitclaim deed, never gave authorization for the transfer, and never appointed Declan as my power of attorney. I sign it in the airport parking lot, using the hood of my rental car as a desk, my signature illuminated by overhead lights. I scan it with my phone and email it back to Reed, filing first thing tomorrow morning. He confirms. The title company will receive it by noon. You should probably get a hotel tonight and rest. Tomorrow is going to be intense. But I don't get a hotel. I drive the 90 minutes north to the cottage, arriving just after 1 a.m. It sits dark and silent on its plot of land, the lake invisible in the darkness, but audible in the gentle sound of waves against the shore. I let myself in with the key I've kept on my keychain for 15 years. Everything inside has been staged for sale. Fresh flowers, artfully arranged throw pillows, scented candles. It doesn't smell like my family anymore. It smells like a real estate showing. I walk through rooms I know by heart, touching walls Dad painted, running my hands over the kitchen counter Mom chose. In the master bedroom, I find a stack of mail that's been opened and sorted. Most of it is junk, but there's a property tax statement showing the taxes were paid by Declan Whitfield in full. My name isn't on it anymore. In the second bedroom, which used to be mine, I find something that makes my breath catch. Boxes of our parents' belongings that were supposed to be split between us. Dad's fishing gear, Mom's quilts, photo albums spanning 4 decades. Declan told me he'd packed these up and stored them safely. He never mentioned he'd stored them here, in the cottage he was planning to sell with all the contents included. These irreplaceable memories would have been sold to strangers or thrown away by the new owners. The casual cruelty of it pushes me past calculation into genuine fury. I spend the night in my old bedroom, sleeping on the staged bed, surrounded by strangers' decorative choices in my childhood home. When dawn breaks over Lake Huron, I watch it through the window, the same view I've watched thousands of times. I think about my parents, about the values they tried to teach us: honesty, integrity, family loyalty. Declan learned the words, but not the meaning. He kept the forms, but discarded the substance. And now he's going to learn that actions have consequences, even when the victim is family, especially when the victim is family, because that makes the betrayal so much worse. At 8 a.m., I call Declan. He answers cheerfully, clearly not expecting to hear from me. Marin, how's Australia? Did you get my email about the early closing? His voice is light, friendly, completely convincing if you don't know he's lying. I keep my own voice equally light. I did. Actually, Declan, I'm back in the States. Flew in last night. I'm at the cottage right now. The silence on his end is profound. What? You're where? I can hear the panic creeping in under the surprise. At the cottage. We need to talk about this sale. And about the quitclaim deed, and about a lot of things, actually. Can you drive up today? Declan arrives 3 hours later, Blair in the passenger seat of his truck. I watch from the kitchen window as they sit in the driveway for several minutes, clearly arguing. Blair's hands are moving animatedly. Declan's head is bowed. When they finally emerge, his face has that practiced expression I now recognize as his reasonable older brother mask. Blair hangs back, her notary bag clutched against her chest like a shield. Marin! This is such a surprise. You should have told me you were coming back. Declan's hug feels like embracing a stranger. I don't return it. When he pulls back, his eyes are scanning my face, trying to read how much I know. I let him wonder. Let's sit on the deck, I suggest. The morning is cold but clear, and I want them uncomfortable. Blair follows us outside, her heels clicking on the wood Dad installed 20 years ago. She's younger than I expected, maybe 28, with the kind of polished appearance that costs money. Money Declan doesn't have. Or didn't, until he decided to steal mine. So, about the sale, Declan starts, settling into one of the Adirondack chairs Mom painted blue before she died. I know it's emotional, but the market is incredible right now. We'll never get a better price. I let the word hang there. Declan, according to the county records, there is no we. The cottage is solely in your name, has been since January, when someone filed a quitclaim deed transferring my half to you. I watch his face carefully. The mask slips just slightly, a tightening around his eyes. Oh, that. Yeah. My attorney said it would make the sale cleaner to consolidate ownership temporarily. You signed the paperwork, remember? I sent it to you in Sydney. His lie is smooth, practiced. If I didn't know better, I might almost believe him. Blair shifts in her seat. I turn my attention to her. You notarized that deed, didn't you, Blair? January 15th. I checked the records. She goes pale. Yes, I notarize documents for Declan sometimes. It's part of my job. Interesting, because notarizing a document requires witnessing the signature being made. You'd need to see me sign it in person, verify my identity with government ID, but I was in Australia in January. I've been there since September. I pull out my passport, flip it open to show the stamps. See? Never left the country. So how exactly did you witness my signature? The silence stretches. Declan clears his throat. Look, Morin, you're clearly upset and jet-lagged. Maybe we should talk about this when you've had some rest. I had the signature analyzed. The lie comes easily. I haven't had time to analyze anything, but they don't know that. Forensic document examiner. The pressure points are wrong. The letter formation is off. It's a good forgery, but it's still a forgery. You want to tell me who actually signed my name? Or should I guess it was Blair? Blair stands up abruptly. I'm not part of this. Declan, you said she agreed to everything. Her voice is shaking and I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. Sit down, Blair. My voice is quiet but firm. You notarized a forged deed. That's a felony. Doesn't matter what Declan told you. You had a legal obligation to verify the signature was genuine. You didn't do that. You're as liable as he is. Declan's mask is gone now, replaced by something uglier. You're threatening my girlfriend? Really, Marin? I'm trying to help us both here. The cottage needs expensive repairs. Funny, because the listing says it's been completely renovated. New kitchen, new deck, refinished floors. Where did that money come from, Declan? Because I've been sending you my half of the maintenance costs, and those renovations cost at least $100,000. I lean forward. Or should I mention the home equity line you took out? Or the casino debts? His face goes white. You investigated me? I'm a forensic accountant. It's literally what I do for a living. Did you really think I wouldn't check? I pull out my phone, show him screenshots of his debt records. $183,000. Great Lakes Gaming Center shows up 47 times in your credit card statements from the last year alone. You don't have a cottage problem, Declan. You have a gambling problem. Blair is staring at him now, horror and realization dawning. You told me the renovation money came from a bonus at work. You said. She trails off, understanding flooding her features. Oh my God. You lied to me about everything. Baby, I can explain. Declan reaches for her, but she jerks away. You used my notary license to commit fraud. I could lose my license. I could go to jail. Her voice is rising. You told me she'd already signed, that you just needed me to witness it as a formality because she was overseas. That's exactly what I needed you to think, I tell her, not unkindly. Blair, you should get an attorney today because the affidavit I filed yesterday morning names you as an accomplice to fraud. The county recorder has it. So does the title company. So does the buyer's attorney. This sale isn't happening. Declan stands so fast his chair tips backward. You can't do this. That cottage is mine now. You forged a deed. That makes the transfer void. The cottage was always mine, legally, no matter what false documents you filed. I stand too, stepping closer to him. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to withdraw the listing immediately. You're going to sign a quitclaim deed transferring any claim you think you have back to me. And you're going to pray I don't press criminal charges. His laugh is bitter. Or what? You'll send your own brother to prison? In a heartbeat. I don't blink. You stole from me. You forged my signature. You were going to sell our parents' cottage and keep all the money while lying to my face about it. You're not my brother anymore, Declan. You're just a criminal who happens to share my DNA. Blair is crying now, fumbling with her phone. I need to call someone. She walks away, voice shaking as she speaks to what sounds like an attorney's answering service. Declan's face twists with rage. You know what your problem is, Marin? You never knew when to let things go. Always had to be perfect. Always had to be right. Dad saw it too. The mention of our father is a calculated cruelty, but it doesn't land the way he wants. Dad trusted you. He made you co-executor of his estate because he believed you'd honor his wishes. You're spitting on his grave for gambling money. I pick up my phone. You have until 5 p.m. today to sign the corrective deed and cancel the listing. If you don't, I'm filing criminal charges. And Blair, whether you cooperate or not determines whether I push for felony charges against you. Think carefully. I walk back into the cottage, leaving them on the deck. My hands are shaking now. Adrenaline flooding my system, but I don't let them see it. Through the window, I watch Declan collapse into the chair, his head in his hands. Blair is pacing, phone pressed to her ear. They're both realizing the same thing. The easy money is gone, and the consequences are just beginning. Reed calls at 2 p.m. with news that makes my day. The title company contacted the buyer's attorney. The sale is officially dead. They're also filing a claim with their errors and omissions insurance because they almost closed on a fraudulent transaction. He pauses. Marin, Declan's attorney just called me. He wants to negotiate. Already? I'm surprised by how quickly he's folded. What's he offering? Full quit claim back to you, withdrawal of the listing, and a promissory note for the taxes and maintenance costs you've paid over the last 2 years. In exchange, you don't file criminal charges. Reed's tone makes clear what he thinks of this offer. They're scared, really scared. Blair apparently hired a criminal defense attorney this morning who told her she's looking at losing her notary license minimum, possible jail time maximum. She's ready to testify against Declan to save herself. The image of them turning on each other is satisfying in a way I didn't expect. What about the renovation costs? He used debt to improve property he was planning to steal. I want compensation for that too. That's trickier legally, but we can argue you're entitled to half the increased value he created with those improvements, since you were still listed as co-owner when they were made. The property is worth about $300,000 more than it was 2 years ago. Half of that is $150. I can hear Reed typing. I'll add it to our counteroffer. But Marin, I have to ask, what's your actual goal here? Getting the cottage back? Getting paid? Or watching him face criminal consequences? I look around the cottage, at Mom's curtains and Dad's bookshelves, and the 1,000 small details that make this place irreplaceable. All of it. I want the cottage, I want compensation, and I want him to understand he can't steal from people without consequences, even if those people are family. Especially if those people are family. At 4:47 p.m., Declan's attorney sends the signed documents, the quitclaim deed transferring his fraudulent claim back to me, proof he's withdrawn the listing, a promissory note for $18,000 covering 2 years of taxes and maintenance, but nothing about the renovation costs. Reed calls immediately. They're rejecting the renovation compensation. His attorney says Declan will declare bankruptcy if you push it, and you'll get nothing anyway. The gambling debts are secured against his house, and he's underwater on everything else. Then we press charges, I say immediately. He doesn't get to commit fraud and walk away because he's bad with money. Marin, if he goes to prison, you definitely won't see a dime. He'll lose his job, his house, everything. The bankruptcy will be inevitable. Reed is trying to be practical, but he doesn't understand this isn't about money anymore. I need you to trust me on this. File the criminal complaint. Include Blair as a co-defendant unless she's willing to testify against him and provide evidence. I'm looking at something I found earlier while Declan and Blair were arguing on the deck. A ledger in his handwriting, detailing every dollar he spent on cottage renovations. I have documentation of his spending, a paper trail, and I have a feeling once the police start investigating, they'll find more than just this one forged deed. The criminal complaint is filed the next morning. By afternoon, 2 detectives arrive at the cottage to take my statement. I show them everything: the forged deed, the property records, Declan's renovation ledger, bank statements showing my tax payments to him, proof I was in Australia when the deed was supposedly signed. They're particularly interested in Blair's role. Notary fraud is something the state takes very seriously, Detective Hayes explains. She's in her 40s, sharp-eyed and thorough. If she knowingly notarized a forged signature, she's committed a felony. But if she cooperates, provides evidence about who actually forged your signature and how this was planned, the prosecutor might offer a reduced charge. She'll cooperate, I say with certainty. She's already hired an attorney. She knows she's facing serious consequences, and she didn't benefit from the fraud the way Declan did. She was a tool he used. 2 days later, Blair's attorney contacts the prosecutor. She's willing to testify that Declan forged my signature himself, that he assured her I'd agreed to everything, and that she notarized the document without properly verifying because he was her boyfriend, and she trusted him. She'll also testify he told her about his plan to sell the cottage and use the money to pay off his casino debts. In exchange, she wants the felony reduced to a misdemeanor, probation instead of jail time, and a chance to keep her notary license if she completes ethics training. The prosecutor agrees. I'm not happy about Blair getting off lightly, but her testimony is devastating for Declan. She provides text messages showing him planning the forgery, discussing which notary stamps to use, even practicing my signature. The evidence is overwhelming. Declan's attorney tries one more time to negotiate. My client is willing to plead guilty to a misdemeanor fraud charge, accept probation, and pay restitution of $100,000 over 10 years. Reed relays this to me with obvious skepticism. They're hoping you'll take the money and let him avoid a felony conviction. He'd keep his job, avoid jail time. Counter offer, I say. He pleads guilty to felony forgery and notary fraud. He accepts whatever jail time the judge deems appropriate. He pays full restitution of $150,000 within 5 years, secured by a lien on his house, and he stays away from me and the cottage permanently. Non-negotiable. He'll never agree to that. The felony conviction means he loses his project manager license. His career is over. Reed sounds almost sympathetic. Then we go to trial. I'm in no hurry. I'm sitting on the cottage deck watching the sunset over Lake Huron, and I've never felt calmer. He gambled that I was too far away and too trusting to notice what he was doing. He lost. Now he pays. The trial is scheduled for 6 weeks out, but it never happens. 3 weeks before the court date, Declan's house of cards collapses completely. The bank forecloses on his house when he misses 3 mortgage payments. His employer launches an internal investigation after the fraud charges become public, and they discover he's been inflating expense reports for 2 years. He's fired immediately. Blair leaves him, moving back to her parents' house in Ohio. Facing prison, financial ruin, and betrayal by the girlfriend he'd dragged into his scheme, Declan finally breaks. His attorney contacts Reed with a new offer. Guilty plea to all charges, acceptance of the prosecutor's sentencing recommendation, full restitution at whatever terms the court sets. In exchange, nothing. He just wants it to be over. The sentencing hearing is held on a Tuesday morning in late spring. I attend, sitting in the front row of the courtroom. Declan won't look at me. He's lost at least 20 pounds, and his suit hangs loosely on his frame. His attorney makes a brief statement about his gambling addiction, his remorse, his desire to make amends. The judge listens impassively. When it's my turn to make a victim impact statement, I stand and face my brother directly. Your Honor, the defendant didn't just forge my signature on a legal document. He tried to steal the last tangible connection I have to our deceased parents. He lied to me for months while planning this theft. He used his girlfriend's professional license to facilitate fraud. He showed no remorse until he got caught, and even then, he tried to negotiate his way out of consequences. I pause, making sure Declan is listening. I want the maximum sentence allowable by law. I want full restitution. And I want him to understand that family loyalty is not a shield against accountability for criminal behavior. The judge sentences Declan to 18 months in county jail, 3 years probation, and orders him to pay $150,000 in restitution plus court costs. It's more than his attorney hoped for, less than the maximum possible. As the bailiff leads him away, Declan finally looks at me. There's no apology in his eyes, just resentment and disbelief that his own sister actually followed through. Blair receives 1 year probation, a $5,000 fine, mandatory ethics training, and a 3-year suspension of her notary license. She'll avoid jail if she completes her probation without violations. At the hearing, she apologizes to me through tears, claiming she was manipulated and naive. I accept the apology with a polite nod, but I don't forgive her. She was an adult who made choices that enabled a crime. Consequences are appropriate. 6 months into Declan's sentence, his attorney files a motion to reduce the restitution amount, claiming my brother will never be able to pay $150 plus interest given his employment prospects as a convicted felon. The hearing is scheduled for a Friday afternoon, and I fly back from Sydney specifically to attend. I'm not letting him weasel out of this debt. In the courtroom, Declan looks worse than at sentencing. Jail has aged him. His attorney argues that requiring full restitution is punitive and unrealistic, given that Declan will likely work minimum wage jobs for the foreseeable future. My client has shown genuine remorse and engaged in gambling addiction treatment while incarcerated. He's a changed man who deserves a chance to rebuild his life without crushing debt. The prosecutor objects, but half-heartedly. This is a civil matter now, not criminal, and the state's interest is minimal. The judge looks at me. Ms. Whitfield, you're the victim here. Do you have a position on the defendant's motion? I stand, and I've prepared for this moment. Your Honor, I'd like to address the defendant's claims about his inability to pay. I've done some research into his finances, as is my right as a judgment creditor. I present documents Reed helped me compile. The defendant's girlfriend at the time of the offense, Blair Cunningham, testified that he planned to use the proceeds from selling my property to pay off casino debts, totaling $183,000. However, according to statements from his creditors, his actual gambling debts are only $94,000. I watched Declan's face go pale. The discrepancy of roughly $90,000 has never been explained. I believe the defendant had additional assets he was hiding even from his girlfriend. I've subpoenaed records from 3 banks and discovered that the defendant maintained a savings account in his name only, separate from any joint accounts, with a balance that peaked at $67,000 just before his arrest. Declan's attorney stands. Objection, Your Honor. That account was used to pay for my client's defense. That account, I interrupt smoothly, was funded by cash deposits made over 18 months, cash that cannot be traced to his employment income. I believe the defendant has been hiding money from the casino, possibly skimming from his employer, possibly from other sources. The employer fired him for expense report fraud, but they never audited how far back that fraud went, because they wanted to avoid publicity. The judge leans forward, suddenly very interested. Are you suggesting additional criminal activity? I'm suggesting that the defendant's claims of poverty are exaggerated. He had $67,000 6 months ago. Even after legal fees, there should be substantial funds remaining. I'm entitled to those funds as restitution. I produce another document. I'm also filing a motion to pierce any remaining financial assets, including future inheritance from our parents' estate. Declan finally speaks, his voice breaking. There's nothing left from Mom and Dad except the cottage, and that's yours. I don't have anything else. Actually, I say quietly, Dad's life insurance policy paid out $300,000. We each got half. I invested mine. What did you do with yours, Declan? The courtroom goes silent. Even his attorney looks shocked. Did you gamble it all away? Or is some of it hidden somewhere? The judge orders a full financial disclosure. Over the next month, forensic accountants hired by the court discover that Declan has been far more dishonest than anyone realized. The $150 inheritance from Dad's life insurance was gone within 8 months. All of it lost at the casino. But he'd also been stealing from his employer for nearly 3 years, inflating expenses and pocketing the difference. The total amount stolen, $43,000. The $67,000 savings account was funded partially by this theft, partially by selling items he'd stolen from the cottage before trying to sell the whole property. The employer files charges. Additional criminal charges are added to Declan's record. His sentence is extended by another year. The restitution order to me remains at $150,000 $43,000, but now it's just one of several judgments against him. The employer wants their $43,000 back. The IRS wants taxes on the unreported stolen income. He's financially destroyed and there's no path back. From jail, he sends me a letter. It's not an apology, it's rage. Page after page about how I've ruined his life, how family is supposed to forgive, how I'm vindictive and cruel. He claims mom and dad would be ashamed of me. The letter is so delusional, so utterly lacking in self-awareness that I almost laugh. I send it to my therapist instead, who uses it to help me process the reality that some people never accept responsibility for their actions. Blair, meanwhile, is rebuilding her life. She's working as a paralegal, attending community college to finish her degree, and staying far away from anything to do with Declan or our family. I hear through mutual connections that she's dating someone new, a teacher who's apparently stable and kind. I feel nothing about this information. She made choices, faced consequences, and is trying to do better. That's the best outcome I could hope for from her. The cottage is fully mine now, legally and practically. I've hired a property manager to rent it out when I'm in Australia, generating enough income to cover taxes, maintenance, and a small profit. I spend a month there every summer, swimming in the lake, reading on the deck, slowly replacing the staged furniture with pieces that feel like home again. I've repainted the walls in colors Mom would have loved. I've restored Dad's workshop in the garage. I'm building new memories while honoring the old ones. A year after Declan's sentencing, I receive an email from the prison's financial counselor. Your brother has requested to set up a payment plan for his restitution to you. He can manage $50 per month from his prison job earnings. At that rate, it will take him 250 years to pay off the debt. Do you accept this arrangement? The absurdity of it is almost beautiful. I accept, knowing I'll never see more than a fraction of what he owes. But every $50 payment is an acknowledgement, a reminder to him that his actions had consequences he can never fully escape. Declan is released from jail after serving 14 months of his original sentence, plus the additional year for the employer theft charges. He's 41 now, with a felony record, no career prospects, and debts he'll never repay. His parole officer requires him to maintain employment and continue gambling addiction treatment. He finds work at a warehouse, loading trucks for $15 an hour. I learn all this not from him, but from the restitution payment system. Every month, $50 is automatically deducted from his wages and deposited into an account I've set up specifically for this purpose. I don't spend the money. I'm not sure I ever will. The point was never about getting rich off my brother's debt. The point was making sure he understood actions have consequences. Blair's notary license suspension ends after 3 years of probation without violations. She doesn't reapply for licensure. Instead, she's finishing her paralegal certificate and has a job offer from a small firm in Columbus. I know this because she sends me a letter, not asking for forgiveness, but explaining her life since the trial. I was young and stupid and thought I was in love. I didn't ask enough questions. I trusted someone I shouldn't have. I'm not making excuses, just explaining. You didn't owe me mercy, but you gave me enough of a chance to rebuild. Thank you. I don't respond to the letter, but I don't throw it away either. My parents' estate is finally settled after 3 years of legal complications caused by Declan's fraud. I'm the sole beneficiary of everything now. There isn't much left after legal fees and Declan's various debts, but there's enough. I used some of it to establish a small scholarship fund at the community college where Dad taught, specifically for students studying ethics or criminal justice. The irony is not lost on me. The cottage continues to be my sanctuary. I've taken a permanent position with my firm's Chicago office, allowing me to work remotely from Michigan several months a year. I've started hosting an annual gathering there for college friends, work colleagues, and neighbors from the lake community. The cottage is becoming a place of new memories while still honoring the old. I've hung photos of Mom and Dad in the living room, alongside new pictures of friends and experiences. The past and present coexist peacefully. Tyler, a colleague from the Chicago office, starts joining me at the cottage for weekend visits. He's a tax attorney, wickedly smart and genuinely kind. We bond over shared interests in forensic accounting and terrible reality TV. 6 months into whatever we're calling this relationship, he asks about the framed photo of young Declan and me on the mantle. That's my brother, I explain simply. We're not in contact anymore. Tyler doesn't push for details, but eventually, I tell him the whole story. He listens without interrupting, and when I finish, he's quiet for a long moment. You did the right thing. I know that probably doesn't feel entirely true, but you did. Enabling someone's destructive behavior isn't love. It's just delayed consequences. I think about that often, whether I did the right thing, whether family should mean something different than what I chose. The truth is, I'll never know if there was a better path, but I know that Declan stole from me, lied to me, and tried to manipulate me into silence. I know that he faced consequences he'd carefully planned to avoid, and I know that I can sleep at night, that I can look at myself in the mirror, that I can walk through the cottage without feeling like a victim. That has to be enough. 3 years after the trial, I'm at the cottage when a car pulls into the driveway. It's Declan, looking older and worn, driving a beat-up sedan. I watch from the deck as he sits in the car for several minutes before finally getting out. He doesn't approach the cottage. Instead, he stands at the edge of the property, staring at the lake. I go out to meet him, but I don't invite him closer. What are you doing here, Declan? You're violating the restraining order. That expired last month, he says. His voice is different, quieter. I'm not here to cause trouble. I wanted to see it again. The cottage, before I leave Michigan. You're leaving? I'm surprised and not entirely displeased. Got a job offer in Nevada, construction work. Better pay than the warehouse. Fresh start, maybe. He's not looking at me, just at the cottage. I know you'll never forgive me. I'm not asking you to. I just wanted to tell you that I understand now. What I did, what I was. The treatment helped eventually. Too late for us. But still. I wait, but he doesn't say anything else. No apology. No request for absolution. Just an acknowledgement. It's more than I expected and somehow less than I'd hoped for. Even though I'd long ago given up hoping. I'm glad you're getting help, I say finally. And I'm glad you're leaving. This place is mine now. Mom and Dad's legacy is mine to protect. You gave up your right to it when you tried to steal it. He nods once, then gets back in his car. Before he drives away, he looks at me one more time. For what it's worth, they'd be proud of you. Not of me, but definitely of you. Then he's gone, and I'm standing alone in the driveway, watching his taillights disappear down the road. I don't cry. I don't feel triumphant or vindicated. I just feel tired and a little sad for the family we could have been if Declan had made different choices. But I don't regret mine. Not for a second. 5 years after the fraud that nearly cost me my family's cottage, I'm sitting on the newly expanded deck, watching my daughter play in the shallow water at the beach. She's 3 years old, with Tyler's dark curls and my stubborn determination. We named her after Mom. Tyler is grilling vegetables he grew in the garden Dad started decades ago. Life has moved forward in ways I couldn't have imagined during those dark days of discovery and legal battles. The cottage is fully renovated now, done properly this time, with my own money and my own choices. The kitchen has been updated but kept Mom's original tile backsplash that she hand-selected. Dad's workshop in the garage is fully functional, filled with tools I'm learning to use. I'm teaching our daughter to fish from the same dock where Dad taught me. The cycle of family continues, but on my terms, with people who've earned their place in it. Tyler and I married 2 years ago in a small ceremony here at the cottage. The guest list was carefully curated. Friends, chosen family, colleagues who've supported me. No one from Declan's side of the family tree was invited. Some relatives thought this was cruel. I think it's boundaries. You don't get to attend celebrations in a home you tried to steal. The restitution payments still arrive monthly, now totaling approximately $600 over 5 years. At this rate, Declan will be paying until he's 93 years old. I've invested every payment in my daughter's college fund. Someday, I'll tell her the story of how her uncle tried to steal her grandmother's cottage and ended up funding her education instead. The universe has a sense of irony. I've heard through distant relatives that Declan is still in Nevada, still working construction, still attending gambling addiction meetings. He's apparently in a relationship with someone new, though I don't know details and don't want to. Our lives are completely separate now, connected only by a monthly automatic withdrawal that reminds him of consequences he can never fully repay. Blair has done better. She finished her paralegal degree, got married to the teacher, had a baby. I know this because she sends an annual Christmas card with a brief note, not asking for anything, just updating me as if we're old acquaintances who drifted apart naturally. I don't send cards back, but I don't throw hers away either. She made terrible choices, faced consequences, and rebuilt. That's the best anyone can do after causing harm. The legal fees and stress of fighting the fraud nearly broke me financially and emotionally, but I've recovered and then some. My career has flourished. I made partner at my firm last year, largely due to my expertise in uncovering financial fraud. Ironic, given how personal my most important fraud case was. I've written articles about family financial abuse, testified as an expert witness in similar cases, and helped 3 people recover property stolen by family members through forged documents. Declan's betrayal made me better at my job. I turned victimhood into expertise. The cottage is worth considerably more now than the $8 million Declan tried to steal. Current market value estimates are around $2. $3 million thanks to both market appreciation and the legitimate improvements I've made. I have no plans to sell. This property will be my daughter's inheritance, along with the story of how I fought to keep it. She'll learn that family loyalty flows both ways or not at all. That trust, once broken through deliberate fraud, cannot and should not be repaired. That some relationships end not with drama but with permanent separation, and that's okay. Tyler brings me a glass of wine and settles into the chair beside mine. Thinking about your brother? He asks, because he knows me well enough to read my occasional quiet moments. Not really. More about what didn't happen. The cottage sale that never closed, the family relationship that never recovered, the forgiveness I never granted. I watch our daughter splash and laugh. I don't regret any of it. Good, Tyler says simply. Because you shouldn't. He tried to rob you of your inheritance and your history. You stopped him and made sure he faced consequences. That's not revenge. It's justice. I've thought about this distinction often, revenge versus justice. In the moment, Pursuing criminal charges and full restitution felt like both. Now, years later, it just feels like the only logical response to deliberate theft. You don't reward criminal behavior with mercy, especially when the criminal shows no genuine remorse. Declan's apology that wasn't quite an apology before he left Michigan was the closest he ever came to acknowledging what he'd done, and even that was more about his recovery than my harm. The scholarship fund I established in Dad's name has supported 12 students so far. Several have gone on to law school or careers in ethics compliance. I attend an annual dinner where the scholarship recipients present their work, and every year I'm reminded that something good came from something terrible. Dad's memory is honored not through a cottage that nearly became someone else's property, but through education and ethical development. I've had therapists suggest I should try to forgive Declan for my own peace of mind. I've explained that I'm perfectly at peace without forgiveness. Some actions don't deserve absolution. Some relationships aren't worth salvaging. My mental health has actually improved since cutting him completely out of my life. No more anxiety about what he's doing. No more guilt about family obligations. No more walking on eggshells around someone who fundamentally doesn't value me. The silence where our relationship used to be is peaceful, not painful. My daughter calls for me to watch her swim. I set down my wine and join her in the water, the same lake where I learned to swim at her age. Mom and Dad would have loved being grandparents, would have adored this child. Declan has never met his niece and never will. That's his loss, his consequence, his choice's result. He chose gambling and theft over family. He forfeited this future when he forged my signature. As the sun sets over Lake Huron, Tyler starts a fire in the pit Dad built from stones he collected along the shore. Our daughter, wrapped in towels, demands the story about Grandma and Grandpa building the cottage. I tell her the sanitized version, how they worked for 3 summers, how they chose each window and board, how they loved this place. Someday when she's older, I'll tell her the rest, how someone tried to steal it, how her mother fought back, how justice, delayed, is still justice. The cottage lights glow warm against the darkening sky. Inside are photos and memories. Dad's books and Mom's quilts. Evidence of a family that was and a family that is. Declan exists only in his absence now. A cautionary tale about what happens when you confuse family loyalty with permission to harm. I sleep well these nights. The nightmares about losing the cottage ended years ago. I dream instead of summers here with my daughter, teaching her to sail and fish and maintain the property that will someday be hers. I dream of Tyler and me growing old on this deck, watching sunsets we nearly lost. I dream of a future my brother tried to steal but couldn't, because I was smarter, more determined, and unwilling to let family obligation override basic justice. The monthly restitution payments will continue for decades. Declan will be reminded, twice a month when he reviews his pay stub, that actions have costs. That betrayal isn't consequence-free. That family who steals from family doesn't get forgiveness, doesn't get reconciliation, doesn't get anything except exactly what they deserve. Permanent exclusion from everything they tried to take. That's not cruelty. That's boundaries. That's self-respect. That's protecting what matters from people who've proven they can't be trusted. And I'd make the same choices again, every single time, without hesitation or regret. The cottage is mine. The future is mine. The peace is mine. Declan has his monthly reminder of the price of his choices. That's the only relationship we have left, and it's exactly what he earned.